Imagine a place where native voices resonate, a platform where stories and knowledge coverage, and a community dedicated to celebrating and empowering our diverse cultures. That's what Tribal Design Forum is. Good evening and welcome to TDF, as well as our session for the Tribal Futures, which is a month long online festival to celebrate Indigenous knowledge, creativity, and communities at large. TDF is an online forum of like minded individuals who share a passion for Indigenous heritage and a desire to make a difference. From the hills and valleys of India's tribal lands to the urban centers, we've come together to create a space for connection and growth. We meet weekly, creating a space for meaningful discourse. During these meetings, we learn from experts working in various domains of tribal studies. So far, we've had the privilege of listening to and learning from some of the best. But it's not just about us. We aim to foster a sense of brotherhood and unity, building bridges not only among tribal groups within India, but also across the globe. We want to connect Indigenous and non Indigenous communities, creating a dialogue and a space for mutual understanding, respect, and growth. So, as we gather here today, let us embrace the spirit of community and the power of our collective voices. Today, we have one of TDF's young ambassador, Ariba Anar, and he is going to be your host for this evening. Ariba, the time is yours.
Hello, Annyeonghaseyo Ata. Greetings to everyone. Good evening. Today, as we celebrate tribal futures, a contemporary tribal imagination, we have with us Takar Nabam, a wonderful musician known for his unique blend of mellow, alternate rock, and Himalayan folk influences. Viewers will delve into the stories behind his invocative music videos and the backstories that shaped his sound. Nabam, rated as one of the top 5 guitar players in India in 2020, crafted a soulful mix of liberating grooves, jazzy riffs, and dreamy vocals that resonate with his diverse musical audience. He will share his experience from growing up in Arunachal Pradesh, exploring the global music scene, and eventually reconnecting with his niche roots. The session will highlight how experiences have influenced his musical style and lyrical themes, creating a rich tapestry that bridges the traditional and contemporary. Through this interaction, Napam offers insights into his creative process, the cultural elements in his music, and the significance of staying connected to one's roots while exploring new horizons. The conversation will provide an intimate look at how Napam's heritage and experiences shape his artistic expression, offering a deeper understanding of the universal themes of identity, belonging, and artistic evolution. Today's format of the program of the meeting is 30 minutes of talk followed by Q&A. Takar Nabam, the time is yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Ariba, for that rather elaborative introduction. Thank you, everyone, whosoever is here, and thank you to Tribal Futures for having me here. I'm extremely delighted, and I am extremely delighted and excited to share with you all my journey, my experiences as being an artist. I am primarily a composer, singer-songwriter, and I've been doing that for last almost decade or so. So let me just brief you all a little bit about myself. I was born in Arunachal, and then at a very early age, I was sent to study in the metros in New Delhi. I lived there for almost a good 20 years. And what I realized that there was a major chunk of the other side of things, which was my culture and our way of life, our and my own identity as a Nishi boy, Nishi person. That was something that uh, I kind of didn't really connect right from the start since I moved out. But after moving back to my hometown, it became more obvious and evident for me to kind of blend in with what was really going on. And I realized that there were some things that I really missed out on. So over the last 5 to 6 years, I've tried my best to um, catch up with the times I've lost being here and reconnecting to my good folks here and really understanding the nitty-gritties of my culture. And every day I'm learning, and there's no end to that. There's so much depth to our own tribal literature here. A little bit about that. I mean, so I was away for a long time, and then I came back, and I couldn't even speak my dialect, and I was having a very tough time. But yes, over the years, I have done my best and have made it a point to
Tucker, you are on mute.
sorry.
Yes.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you're audible. Please do let me know when to show the slides as well.
Okay, sure. All right. First of all, good evening to everyone. Thank you, Ariba, for that wonderful intro. I am Takar Nabam. Uh, a little bit about who I am. I am a singer-songwriter and composer from Arunachal Pradesh. I was born here, but I spent a considerable amount of time studying outside of my home state, living in New Delhi. Good chunk of my life, about 20 years. And over those years, I did get exposed to a whole lot of different kind of music, different kind of people from all across the world. And I got to learn about rock music, world music, jazz, bossa nova, and a whole lot of other styles of music. And I also got introduced to songwriting. It's just been about 6 years since I got back to my home state, and I have been working tirelessly and putting in all my effort to reconnect with my roots, my identity, because I think I really missed out on some of the things while I was away. And there was a time when I came back and I was really struggling to even speak my dialect or strike up a decent conversation with anyone. And I wrote a song which was inspired by a very difficult time that I went through, reconnecting with my own people. And the song is called Quite a Story. It goes like this. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
This man, he left as a boy at 7 or 8, 2 long decades till he was home again. They were all ears to listen to the story of a man who left sadly as a boy. He felt the joy, but even more worried, 'cause he just couldn't find the words to tell them the story. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. He heard his heartbeat. They felt his heart speed. He stuttered, he stammered, he fell, but didn't give up. They were all ears to listen to the story of a man who left sadly as a boy. He felt the joy, but even more worried, 'cause he just couldn't find the words to tell them the story. They all fell silent, he felt naked, lost, surrendered. They heard this man wail. Uh, so that was a song called Quiet, a Story, and that kind of was conclusion of my emotions and the kind of things that I was going through while understanding how important it was for me to relearn about my culture and relearn and learn my own dialect and really really embrace it. So that was the starting point for me in my dialect, which is Nishi dialect. So for those of you who don't know much about Arunachal and a whole bunch of different sub-tribes, and every tribe has its own set of dialects, and it's crazy. There are so many dialects. Sometimes it's really hard to keep a track of the number of dialects that we have in our own state, and it's supremely challenging because there's no written script, and a lot of our traditional stuff and literature and everything is all very oral based. So as things are vanishing with modernization and westernization and all the technology and everything, it I felt it extremely important to do my part and to write some songs in my own native dialect, especially about this particular uh, theme, which is our festival of harvest called Kum, which is basically an amalgamation of two words, Nyok and Kum. Nyok stands for land, and Kum is gathering. Nyokum means it's a land where we gather to celebrate the well-being of Mother Earth, this whole universe, and we pray to Mother Nature for a very beautiful, a very, very bountiful harvest, and for the well-being of everybody, and for peace and harmony. But before I go to the song, I would just like to run by you all a short set of slides, set of pictures, so I can just tell you guys what I'm going to sing about and what this really is. So it just gives you all a little bit of a context before we do this. Okay, can we go with the slide sharing? Yeah. So yeah, can we go to the first? So as you can see, the man who's clad in this black dress, it's a Nishi attire for the male person. Not everybody wears this black dress. Usually it's all mostly in this creamish color, which the ladies are also wearing in that theme. But sometimes we also have these option of wearing black. And he's hitting this traditional symbol called tal. It's like a gong. It's what we call it tal. And as you can see, he's wearing a headgear, and he's also wearing a local traditional sword, which we call oyo or dao. So he's greeting the people, all the and kind of inviting the spirits, the positive spirits, and bringing in, welcoming in all the positivity before the festival and setting the vibe of the festival, basically. Can we go to the next, please? As you can see, right across the river, that's usually one of our traditional Nishi tribal homes that is being that still exists in the more rural belts, and especially in Yokum or any other traditional functions, we end up building these bigger houses with more, and every house has a fireplace. So a house of this length would at least have 4 or 5 fireplaces inside it. And so fireplace is very important in our culture because that is where all the important talks, discussions, and everything is discussed and talked about. Can we move to the next one, please? Yeah, so here you can see our Nishimen. They're all clad in this creamish colored attire, and they're wearing the traditional beads, and they're also wearing the dao. You can see they're holding on to this piece of bamboo with the with few flowery sort of designs, which is basically the slivers bamboo stick, and on top of it is attached sometimes it's a chicken also which is attached on top of that. It's just sort of like a sacrifice that is being offered to the mother nature and the spirit of Nyokum. So yeah, that is, they're all doing it in rounds and rounds, and this happens quite often during our Nyokum festival. Can we go to the next slide, please? This is usually a part of the celebration is where people are also there for merrymaking. Both ladies are clad in their own traditional attires, and gents are clad in their traditional attires too, and we are all gathered there to celebrate. And we have songs in Nyokum festival, traditional songs that we all dance to. So this is just a part of that. Next, please. Uh, So recently, what has happened is because our tradition is oral, we are losing out on a lot of things, and especially a lot of chantings that the shamans and priests they do, which is kind of something that is a gift or innate in them, and we don't want that to disappear. And that has been happening because we are losing them. They're getting older, so these young children are being taught about these the principles and the basics and the things that these priests are chanting so that we can preserve some part of our culture and they can continue with those practices even in the years to come. Next, please. Like I mentioned earlier, fireplace is a very crucial place for us in any tribal home. That is where all the major discussions are being held and the future course of action, everything is being talked about here. So if there is any sort of problem against one clan or the other, or any relationship that is being forged, everything happens in the fireplace because that is where all the important stuff happens. It's like the court for us, basically. Can we go to the next, please? Next slide.
Just a second. I think it's moving. It's shifting.
Okay. Yeah. So this is just little close up on our Nishimen during the Nyokum celebration, who are also holding the traditional mashet, and they also have the bow and arrow in the which they're carrying. And usually we have a lot of these activities where they are participating during the Nyokum festival, where they have to shoot the bow and arrow and shoot. There are shooting competition and all of that also during that time. So it's very interesting. This is just a picture from part of the celebration from one of the events that happens usually during our celebration. Next, please. Also, bamboo dancing and jumping and all of that is also part of our activities during the celebration. These are just little girls and boys from schools who are taking part in these cultural recreational activities. Next, please. So this is a very important part in our celebration festival. This is an altar where sacrifice happens, and all the ladies and all the mothers, sisters, they all come and pray for the well-being of their families, and they're offering the millet and they're offering some part of the rice and everything to the altar here, asking for a better harvest and for the well-being of their families. And yeah, this is just a picture of that. Next, please. So a lot of our festival also is known for its the millet wine. It's usually prepared like this in a setup like this, but this is at a much smaller scale. Usually it's done at a much bigger scale, but at homes, millet wine is prepared like that. As you can see in this container, we have the millets which are put there, and the water is being poured over it very gently. It's really an art, and not everybody can do that, and you really need to have a good hand to bring out the best flavor of the millet to this. Yeah, next please. Next one. This is hornbill again is very important part of our culture. Usually our tribal headgear, the one of the part, the beaks are of hornbill. Nowadays it's all artificial because of course hornbills endangered and they are almost at the verge of extinction. So we don't encourage that anymore. But hornbill plays a very important part in our tribal cultural identity. Next. As you can see, this man is wearing a headgear which has the beak of hornbill. Pretty much, I think this is an artificial one. Next. Yeah, this is the usual sacrificial altar where all the sacrifice happens. Next. Yeah, I think that's the end of it. And I will just play up the song that I wrote for this festival of ours. It's called Nyokum Sokito. I will just run by you all just a few lines of the song so that it can just give you all a little context about it. The chorus of the song goes Nyoku Sangmuto, which means let's grow together with the land. Nyokum Sokito, which means let's celebrate Nyokum. Sangbam Lajo Pata, which means let's grow together with the birds. Sangbam Lajo Sangne, which means let's grow together with the trees. Sangbam Lajo Taniku. Sangbam Lajo Taniku means let's grow together, the sons and daughters of Abotani. Abotani is one of the here, be it Nishi, Adi, Apatani, Galo, Tagin. These are the 5 Tani tribes which come from Abotani, and he's the ultimate forefather for us. So there are a lot of we are calling out to all the sons and daughters of Abotani to let's come together and celebrate this festival unitedly. So this is what the song really is about. As you can hear, there is so much significance has been laid out on the mother nature, your trees, your birds, your and everything, the land. So it's all of that only. It's all the earthy stuff, and we are just here doing our part, trying to add to the positivity of our to our tribal people and to our tribal culture. So this is Nyokom Sakito. Solo alo alja kapado hanyir hanyir anganyapa opo lindo ading teto dagpu tegdo puria hido tale yoni tale yoni tale yoni Nyoku Sangmuto Nyokum Sokito Sangbam lacho bata, sangbam lacho sangbam lacho taniku. Aking lungking, aking lungking. Riyang yejra, dalgunaling ribo, cengam yapanga, buya gyumling ribo. Opo lingdo ading tagto tagpu tagdo puryak hido talenyoni 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 nyoku sanguto Nyokum sokito Sangbam lacho bata Sangbam lacho sangne Sangbam lacho taniku Yoku sanmuto Yoku sanmuto Yokum sokito Yokum sokilajo Sanggam lajo bata Sanggam lajo sanne Sangbam lajo taniku 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 aking lungking aking lungking. So that was Nyokum Sokito. I hope you all got a little gist of the song, and I would, if you like the song, I would urge you all to go and listen to it once on YouTube also, because I have the translations to the lyrics as well on the description of the video. Moving forward, so this was a more I would say contemporary pop kind of approach to you know writing a song about something so sacred and something so sensitive for our tribe in a more contemporary way, because that's what I've been trying to do, which was to blend in my musical influences, which are primarily the Western side of things, and trying to incorporate the lyrics in my native dialect. So another important part of the Nyokum celebration is by far, I think, one of the most important aspect of it, which is the spiritual part of it, which is how our priests are chanting to the Ane Nyokum and our Mother Nature, and calling in the good spirits, and in return they're also offering sacrifices and vowing to Mother Nature that we are not going to harm you in any way in the days to come. Just provide us with good harvest and good uh, the safety and well-being of everybody, and in return we will do our bit. We will protect you, and we will celebrate this festival in all peace and harmony. So there are some of these chants that are being performed during our festival, and usually happens in the fireplaces. And from fireplaces, it goes to a point near the sacrificial altar. We have men who are surrounded huge rounds, and they are chanting these lines. Somebody calls it out, the priest calls it out, and people are chanting and doing the rounds. We call this Buya dance, and every year the chants are continue to vary, but I somehow managed to get something, one of the chants from one of the celebration during one of our Nyokum 2 years ago, I would say, and this kind of captures the essence of it. Although translation wise, I am not completely sure because this is very deep, and even the most well-spoken people are find it very difficult to really decipher the true meaning of each word or each line. And we just get the gist of it that it's from a more spiritual point of view. That's where our priests are inclined towards. They're going towards the other side of the world where they're inviting the good spirit and they're having sort of a bargain with the bad spirit. So that's just giving you like a brief gist of it. This is Nyokum Yulo Buya, Nyokum Yulo Buya, the Buya dance. Uh, One of the excerpts from that. Tugumbo pingbo, arkibo arobo, Tugumbo pingbo, arkibo arobo, Tubo yombo, Bindubo humbo, Tulubo dukumbo, Yokubo nyodibo, Tulubo dukumbo, Yokubo nyodibo, Tulubo dukumbo, Yokubo nyoinbo, Tarangbo nyanyangbo, Yokumbo yulobo. Burbo budubo, dojunbo judubo, shikibo kidubo, ikibo kidubo, yodubo nyodibo, hindubo, putubo pibo, rindubo, hindubo, odibo, polibo, chudubo, hindubo, pumlibo, lidbo, chudbo, gyolibo, jilibo, myolibo, halibo, tamlibo, gyolibo, nyolibo, nyodibo, subo, nyolibo, subo, hinlibo, dulbo, dukumbo, tarangbo, nyayulobo. So that was just one excerpt composed by the priest. In actuality, the way it's being sung, it goes much faster and the timing is a little different. But I kind of gave it the world music touch, which was I connected to the bossa nova elements. The actual rhythm goes like this: Tugumbo, Rapingo, Arkibo, Arabo, Tubo, Yambo, Mindubo, Humbo, Dulbo, Dukumbo, Nyokbo, Nyodbo, Dulbo, Dukumbo, Nyokbo, Nyoinbo, Tarango, Nyanyango, Nyokumbo, Yulobo. So now that becomes extremely hard, at least for me, to sing it that fast. So I slowed it down and laid it back a bit and kind of gave it uh, fit into a bossa nova groove, which was Tugumbo, Rapingbo, Arkibo, Arobo, Tugumbo, Rapingbo, Arkibo, Arobo. So yeah, I hope you guys get the gist. So one part here, I was doing both the call and response part together, so it kind of sounded little linear. Otherwise, one part has to be done by one side, the other part has to be done by the other side. So if one side goes Tugungbo, Ryapingbo, and then the other side goes Arkibo, Arobo. It's like a call and response kind of thing. Tugungbo, Ryapingbo, Arkibo, Arobo, Tubo, Yombo, Mindubo, Humbo. So on and so forth. It's like a back and forth uh, call and response kind of a thing. It's interesting because that's something that we get to see from some other forms of music like blues, which came from Africa. And even there, it was all about the main essence of that was the call and response. And it's crazy how that kind of that whole thing got transported here, even in our tribal culture here. So it's interesting. So that's it from me. And I was for taking out the time to listen to me and for being part of this. And I hope Tribal Features continues to do this and really give voice to the indigenous tribes and the unheard of people and unheard of tribes, because that's something we need, because a lot of the modernization is happening, and I hope in this fast-paced world we are able to give time, our own time, sweet time, to our own roots and our own identity, and do our bit, be it artistically or be it any other way, in whatever profession you are, and embracing our culture and trying to take this forward. That's it from me. I'm Takar Nabam. Thank you all. Can we have the video played,
Thanks.
please? Yeah.
Please go on with the video. Yeah.
This man, he left as a boy, about 7
Guys,
or
the video is
8,
not playing.
to they were all ears to listen to the story of a man who left sadly as a boy. He felt the joy, but even more worry, 'cause he just couldn't find the words to tell them the story. He heard his heartbeat. They felt his heart speed. He stuttered. He stammered. He felt, but didn't give up. They were all ears to listen to the story of a man who left sadly as a boy. He felt the joy, but even more worry, 'cause he just couldn't find the words to tell them the story. They all felt silent, he felt naked, lost, surrendered. They heard this man wail.
So, Takar Napam, it was a very pleasure, to hear your story and then your presentation. It's quite a remarkable feat and encouragement, though stayed away for such a long time from hometown. you've gained a lot of knowledge and understanding towards your tribal, and which is very encouraging and a lesson to be learned by all of us. As audience, you can kindly post any questions in the chat box. Though due to time constraint, we may not be able to take up a lot of questions, but please feel free to share in the chat box. And while the audience is typing, I just want to ask a question to Taka. That is, what was your biggest challenge while choosing music as your profession? And yes, that's what I
Biggest
want.
challenge while choosing music as a profession.
Yes, yes,
I think biggest challenge would be to keep the passion, uh, to keep my focus and passion at that level. So I continued going forward because we are also, I mean, I'm from the time when it was still not encouraged to like really take up musical play because it had a very negative connotation. The moment you say you're in a band or you're in music, the first thing that comes to mind is you're probably after doing some really bad stuff or something like that. So to convince my family or even people from near my family to really make them understand that yes, I am following my passion. That's something that I would continue to do so till I'm here. And there's really nothing nobody can do about it. And I just hope that despite all the odds that, just channeling that passion in the right way and continuing with that inspiration and the motivation for my passion was something that I struggled with initially, but now I've kind of come to terms with it and I figured out a way to do it. Yeah.
yes. Thank you. So that's very
Thanks a lot.
nice. I mean, having the resilience to choose your passion despite societal norms. That's a very brave thought. So I would just like, as a tribal, like I have a question here, like how, in what way do you want the world to see your music? Like what, how do you want the world to see your music, visualize your music? Uh, Yeah,
Uh, I mean, I think that's a very interesting question, a very good one. I haven't really thought about this, and I'm going to do my homework and start jotting down what exactly I want out of this. But I think that the immediate thing that comes to my mind is that I'm somebody who has had some sort of experiences from outside of my own tribe, and I am bringing in some newer elements into and bringing in some of the best elements and one of the core elements of my tribe and blending in and trying to uh, connect it in a way that I think that I can best express it to the world, because music is a universal language and it knows no boundaries, be it language or be it culture, but it should not be diluted to a point that it feels that it's diluted and it's not lost its true essence. So I'm just I would say a soldier of um trying to survive, continue trying to protect my side of my identity, which is being a Nishi person, and also bringing in the other things which wherever the world is leading, and trying to balance things in my own sweet way possible. So that I think would be how I would want the world to see my music, I guess. I hope that answers your question.
uh, yes, that was wonderful. Audience can also type in your questions in the chat box, and then we can take forward anything and like you want to ask as an audience. So uh, I've seen your talk shows in the previous shows, and then seen that you have spent a lot of time in Delhi and then you come back. So here's what does homecoming means to you, and have you ever thought that like something was missing within you while you were there, and what prompted you to come back into this music? I think it's a different form to a niche type of music.
Uh, Thank you again for that question. Home to me, homecoming meant being surrounded by my people, my tribe, my own family, and my nearest family members, and my community, and connecting to my clan um, in the best, in my most, in the deepest possible way, because that's something that I didn't really get to experience earlier on in my life, and at this point I am really grateful that I am able to do that, and I really appreciate and uh, enjoy it, because there's so much to learn from just being around in your own community. So homecoming to me means like really reconnecting yourself with obviously your own identity, and also being surrounding yourself with people who can resonate with you on that level. um, Apart from that, I think coming back home was important because I felt there was a, after living in metro for so many years, there was a serious void I felt after a point. There was a sort of a saturation I had hit, and I wanted to really slow things down and explore the other side of things. And of course, if our tribal people are very rooted, and our family, they want you, if you're anywhere outside, to come back, and you have to come back home for some reason. There's never a thing that you leave home and you never come back and get out and do your thing the way you would want it. But you need to find a balance, and you need to get back home, and you have to take responsibilities here and also continue doing what you love to do. So that, I think, was important, and it had to happen. So just the fact that we tribals are a little bit more rooted, it was one of the most it was, I think, an important factor which kind of pulled me back to my hometown. Yeah.
So thank you so much. Uh, yes,
Yes.
I think we have a question from the chat box.
Mhm.
So
I sir, I want to ask as an artist.
yes,
Okay. Mm, I think, as we all know, India, I think we'll all agree that India is such a vast country, and it has so many different cultures, and it's so diverse. It's so diverse, and every culture is so unique and different from each other. And one of the important thing that I would say an important fabric would be unity, obviously, in diversity. When we say that, I feel that there needs to be some sense of uh, appreciation and acceptance for each other's, the fact that all people are not the same. It's different. There are different culture, there are different practices, and we should be respectable, and we should uh, try and make an effort to learn about people who are surrounding you and where you come from, and and a bit more about your country. So obviously, when we do something like since you mentioned that there is music, art, and folk to reshape our country, in what way we can do that. Of course, I think art and music, that's something so, I mean, such powerful means through which we can share our stories and reach out to other parts of the country, other parts of other tribes and other people. Hopefully the works get translated a certain way that people understand that yes, there is a story like this which I had never heard of, and it sounds very interesting, and I would probably want to hear some more stories from the other parts, from other tribes or other cultures, and get to know more about it. I think it just boils down to how willing we are to do it, but we can't force people to learn about it or force people to learn about any other thing or to listen to a certain tribes music or something like that. But as an artist, I would say it's our responsibility to get our message across in the best possible manner. And if you're doing something in the lines of your folk music or your folk culture, I would say just do it in the purest possible way, or in the with most amount of love for it, so that when it reaches the other side, when it reaches the people, they get to see the true side of what it really is, and they get an insight of it, and they might want to be a part of your world, and they might want to know more about your culture and your folklores they might want to hear. So as an artist, it's a continuous fiat, and I think we have to do our best to um, get the message across in the best possible manner. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I think someone has raised a hand. So
So, yeah, hello there.
yes,
Hi.
Is my audio clear? Yeah, hi. So, first of all, thank you so much for your presentation. Um, this brought back like really good memories for me because so I'm a faculty at National Institute of Fashion Technology, and we had visited Arunachal like a year back at Tirap district to interact with Nokte and Waka tribe, whereas some of our other departments had actually gone to areas where there were Nishi communities staying, and they had brought back wonderful pictures and shopped a lot of jewelry and textiles, and actually also picked up on some of the songs which they sing during your agricultural harvest seasons. So your presentation really got back good memories for me. So my
Thank
question
you.
is, I wanted to know that, all these traditional lyrics that you were talking about, are there any, documented forms of those, or has anyone taken that initiative, which, one could refer to with the meanings?
With the translation and everything
Yeah, the translation and,
of that,
like
right?
it's like a record of all these old traditional songs.
So there are some we have this thing called one indigenous faith called Donyi Polo, and one of the
Right.
Donyi Polo, Donyi means sun and Polo is moon, and so we've had these books published, which we call of Donyi Polo, where we have some of these chants and prayers which are written in the most deepest form of our language, and the translations of it are also mentioned. There's just a brief description of most of it. It's not like word to word translation of that. So there have been some books that have come out which are available here locally. Besides that, there were some departments, there were some people who were actively involved in documenting these things, and one of some of the people that I knew, one of our good known people who were working in this particular front, one of their offices got burned down and they lost all the important
Oh,
documentaries of that, and so it was a terrible setback. This was about 4 to 5 years back, but I'm
right.
sure besides that, people are making an effort from their end also to write these down. But Donyi Polo's, some of the books that have come out in the form of prayer books, Nyedan Namlo, that those have the translations of some of these important songs, the traditional songs, the the translations are also given.
I had one more question. So, when you were actually they were playing the video, I think the graphics and all were very interesting, of
Sure.
I think showing the place and a visual identity of the place in a very contemporary manner, which I think a lot of younger people would relate to faster. So I was wondering, do you see in future that, that there could be some collaboration of yours with maybe creative people having other skill sets and mediums, which would help with this documentation I'm talking about of all these, traditional songs with maybe, illustrations, etc. with them? Do you think like, your music could be a collaboration with some other form of art, which could help in, it reaching out and appealing more quickly and being more understandable more quickly to probably the younger generation, because I think their medium of absorbing is quite different as compared to a traditional setting.
Yes, absolutely. I have, in fact, one of the chanting tunes that I did, I wanted to do some video for that also, but it became extremely difficult to understand the exact translation and to interpret that in the visual format. Even the interpreter, he interpreted it a certain way, but to show that thing to the world was becoming extremely challenging for us. So we stopped halfway somewhere, but going to pick it up again and maybe find a more like a more accessible route through which it can be shared. And I think it will be very interesting because a lot of our prayers and a lot of our cultural side and cultural festivals and all the important part that happens have a lot to do with the other side of the spiritual world. So it's really dark, to be honest, and I would at some point definitely want to explore that and get in dig deeper and maybe do a visual interpretation of that, because it has to be somebody who can understand what we're also trying to convey to the person, the visual illustrator, who may be able to understand to that level how to bring that out in the best possible way. That's a very wonderful suggestion you have given, and I'm definitely going to start from where I stopped and hopefully have something to share to the world and possibly inspire our younger folks who obviously, like you mentioned, have a very different way of consuming and understanding and connecting to things, much different from a routinely more traditional format. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Suggestion.
All the best for your future endeavors. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Due to time constraints, we will take one last question for today. The question is from Anupam Bude. Do you think it is important to be careful while putting out core information in public domain, given that we have seen many examples of culture appropriation where proper credit is not given to the community members?
All right, that's okay. I think where there is appropriation, it's important that we bring that thing to light from our side, at least that something has been misappropriated or it's being interpreted in the wrong sense. Some things, of course, like you say, that it cannot be disclosed to the world exactly in a way where it may get wrongly interpreted. Like for instance, in our case, our tradition is very much it revolves around the act of sacrifice, which can be taken in a very negative light by a lot of people from the rest of the country or rest of the world. But that's something that is very that's the core of our tribal culture's identity, and sometimes it's not the most comfortable thing to be shared to the rest of the world because it might be taken in the wrong sense. But if there is something that is wrongly appropriated or wrongly put out, I think it's important to uh, let them know that something wrong is going on. And of course, the credit has to be given to people who are involved in any project or who are helping you out in any possible way. The credits, give credits where it's due. So yes, I would say, Anupam, that it is definitely very important to consider before putting out something that may be wrongly interpreted also. But just be true to yourself and understand that if you're doing something regarding your tradition, putting it out just because there are sentimental values attached to it. So be as careful as possible. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for so much for the wonderful presentation so far and sharing your ideas and perspective. Now I give time to Anugrah.
Uh, yeah. Thank you so much. Tucker, thank you for being here today with us. It
Thank
is
you.
so lovely to have you back and listen to all your stories, your narratives. And if I may say so, you are no less than like a storyteller yourself, no? Carrying the stories of your community, your tribe in such a beautiful manner through your music. So we are so fortunate to be able to have you here and not just have you here with us but also hear you sing and explain the thoughts that have gone into writing those words and putting those music and making it so accessible at the same time. I
Thank
we
you.
are talking about tribes in transition, and I feel like for us, the stories that you've shared is such an epitome of actually tribes in transitioning. And we strongly believe that indigenous knowledge is an ever growing set of knowledge. It's never static. Knowledge is never static, not just indigenous. And the way you've been adding your own touch to the knowledge that is there existing, I feel like that's adding so much value to the knowledge there, especially acting as a bridge for the younger generations to come as well. The visual representations were so beautiful, especially the ones where there were young boys and you were talking about how young children are being taught uh, all about all the oral traditions, and I think that is so beautiful and it is so important at the same time uh, to see and to realize that people are just going beyond talks is also a great inspiration for all of us sitting here today. Thank you for answering all our questions. Thank you for giving us such a big chunk of your Saturday evening. We've been so excited and eager to have you here with us. And oh boy, what a wonderful evening that we've had. Thank you to everybody who's been here as well. The last interaction that we've had was so beautiful, and like exactly like what here it's mentioned in the chat that TDF, this is why we are trying to put together a group of multidisciplinary designers to pursue interdisciplinary places. I feel like this is what TDF is all about, coming together, sharing, and helping each other grow and to continue our legacy, our heritage, and our knowledge to be those tribes in transition. So thank you for being here with us. Thank you for showing us what it means to be a tribe in transition as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes.
Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Yes, Ariba, I give the time to you. Ariba has some few announcements to make before we close for the day.
Yes. So, Tripod Design Firm is pleased to organize a photography event contest for the year 2024. So, all are welcome. Please kindly share links within your vicinity. And we are also organizing, TTF is also organizing essay competition. So, which is available in the link. And also tomorrow's movie screening is on by Sunil Kumbawat and Hari Kumar Arjun. There's a movie screening at 2:30 p.m. tomorrow. So you are most welcome to apply for registering the link. And then we also have another interesting session, that is a session by Anubam Purti on reviving the festivals of the mountains, that is on 7:30 p.m. So thank you everyone for attending today's program, and also we will be excited to again meet again tomorrow at the same timing uh, in the Tribal Futures program. Thank you. So we shall be closing our sessions from now. Yeah, thank you for attending.